Dandy began his professional career in 2004 as an intern with Synergy Sports and was soon promoted to Director of Recruiting. In 2006, Tory transitioned to Director of Recruiting with Maximum Sports with veteran agents Eugene Parker and Roosevelt Barnes. In 2009, at the young age of 29 years old, Tory signed the number 3 overall pick with client Tyson Jackson. Last month, he was named co-head and managing partner of CAA Sports Football Division. Tory joined CAA Sports in 2016 and represents more than 3 dozen football clients with a combined $600 million in contract values. His client roster includes A.J. Brown, Chris Godwin, Eddie Goldman, Marshawn Lattimore, Shaq Lawson, Denzel Ward, Sammy Watkins, Devin White, and Mike Williams, among others. Born in Woodruff, South Carolina, Tory Dandy has been close to football his entire life. Tory's experiences as a college football standout at Tusculum College allows him the ability to relate to his clients both on and off the field. As an NFLPA agent, Tory is very passionate about supporting his clients and their families both personally and professionally. Tory is actively involved in the community where he tours numerous schools and churches, speaking to and positively encouraging youth. Tory also serves as a youth mentor of the CDC Mentor Program of the Carolinas. In 2013, he established an annual scholarship, the Tory Dandy Educational Scholarship, for graduating seniors from his high school, Woodruff High in South Carolina. Welcome, Tory, to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
That's an impressive resume right there.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you. A lot of hard work. Still a lot more to do.
Yeah, a lot of hard work. So before we even get started, I'm gonna go ahead and let the listeners and viewers know that we are from the same hometown, which is what I call Spartanburg, South Carolina. But you, among some of the other people in Spartanburg County, like to specifically represent exactly where you're from in Spartanburg. So shout out to Victor Dura, who always shouts out Cowpen, South Carolina. So you always shouts out Woodruff, South Carolina.
No doubt about
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, we're all 864. We're all
it. Yeah.
Sparkle City.
No,
So I
no,
got it.
no, ain't nothing but love always, for sure.
But I just wanted to make sure we give Woodruff a lot of love today. So
Appreciate that.
tell my listeners and viewers a little bit about your story and how it has gotten you to where you are today.
I think you mentioned it earlier. I mean, growing up in Woodruff, South Carolina, a small hometown, 2A high school, graduating class probably about 150 people, probably at most. Um, First generation. I mean, my mom had 6 brothers and sisters. My father had 18 brothers and sisters. I'm the first one in my family ever to go to college.
Yeah.
Once I went to college, I went to South Carolina State and then transitioned and transferred to Tusculum College.
Mhm.
Played football there. My junior year in college, I got injured, and so unfortunately, my aspirations and hope of going to the NFL was out the window. But I always was serious about my academics, and I knew that I was really thinking back then I wanted to be like maybe a college coach or maybe athletic director.
Mhm.
But I was blessed enough and fortunate enough that my senior year I was a student coach, and one of my teammates asked me to kind of help him with his process for his vetting agents out. I did. I found it very intriguing, very interesting, and from there I sat through those meetings with him, and I really was like, you know what, this might be something might be more interested in. And I graduated, started getting my MBA at Webster University, and I started doing the internship, and I just grind and grind and grind, and met Eugene Parker, who I owe everything to when it comes to this business side of it. I mean, he's a legend, he's an icon. Eugene represented guys like Deion Sanders and Emmitt Smith and Curtis Martin and Ray Lewis and all these Hall of Fame guys, and he took me in at an early age in my career and early stage, and really for like 12, 13 years, really mentored me, and not just about the agent business, but about life. And
Mhm.
he's a great mentor, father figure, and all that above. And unfortunately, March 2016, Eugene passed away. And from there, I transitioned, came on board at CAA in 2016, July 1st, and became the first African American senior executive at CAA Football, which for the last 7 years, Forbes has named CAA Football and Sports #1 sports entertainment agency in the world. So I'm very humbled by being the first African American senior executive, because it certainly shows a true testament to my hard work, and but also the job that I'm doing with my guys and their families. And so I pride myself on that. And recently, after 4 great years at CAA, became recently managing partner at CAA, which is, still within itself. I mean, just, unbelievable opportunity. And now co-head of football at CAA. So it's been a great ride. It's been something that, maybe later on in this conversation I can speak on more that I never seen coming. But 17 years ago, I started in this business as an intern, and now I sit at the head of the table with the number one agency in the world. So, it took a lot of sacrifice, a lot of support. I got a praying, loving mom and family that was very supportive. My clients, their family. It's been a great journey, but we got a long way to go, and I'm hungry than ever.
All right. I love that. That's an amazing story. So in that you were saying that you set out to possibly have, a playing career in the NFL, but that didn't happen. And so by chance helping out a teammate vetting agents, that's how you were introduced into to agents and into the career. So
Yeah.
what was it about it that made you say, I want to do this, or this is something that I think I would be good at?
Well, yeah, I think I love the game of football, first of all. And I think just sitting through those meetings and hearing like these agents give their pitches about what they do and what it entails and all that. And I just thought about it like I can still be a part of football, be a part of sports, but also be on the side of being like a mentor and like a kind of like a big brother to some of these guys. And so that really intrigued me. I started doing more research. I actually, back then, there was a organization called the Black Sports Agent Associations, and they did seminars every year. And I attended one in Vegas back then, and I found it. I picked everybody's brain that was there, and there was a lot of celebrities there, and other agents and attorneys, and all those. I asked a lot of questions, and I was very inquisitive, and I just felt like this might be my right move and right calling, and it ended up being 17, 18 years ago the right decision.
Yeah. Okay. So, in the time that you've been an agent in the NFL, how has the business changed?
Oh, it's changed so much. I mean, nowadays, I think a lot of people with social media see the glitz and glamour of the business and what comes with that and all that. And I think back then, when I got started, it wasn't no social media. I mean, it was kind of like a hidden thing, and you had, you know, it certainly was a lot of agents, but it wasn't a surplus of agents. Now, I mean, it's so many agents. I mean, people now just all of a sudden want to get certified and want to lead their career and figuring out like, thinking that this is like just all this glitz and glamour. They don't see a lot of behind the scenes of,
Right.
the rigors of the recruiting and, the disappointment of not signing a player. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden now, you got a client that get injured and now out the league and dealing with that and trying to really be there for those guys. These guys go through depression and they go through a lot of hardship with families and situations. So you got to put on a lot of different hats than just being an agent. And I just feel like now the biggest misconception is the glitz and glamour of it, but I also feel like now with the agent business, it's getting a lot watered down. I think a lot of these young men are getting misled and misguided.
Yeah.
I tell families all the time in the NFL, there's an epidemic where almost 80% of professional football players, 2 years after leaving the game of football, end up broke.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of these guys not building the right foundation, the team around them when they come out of school, and so that's very disheartening when you see these young men continue to make the same mistakes over and over and over. And I'm just gonna be frank, a lot of them look like us, meaning African American, meaning Black. And so my thing was, and me, Eugene, always spoke about it and talk about it. We can't save everybody, but what I want to do is use this platform and use these resources in which I have over here at CAA to really better serve each young man life that I encounter and family I encounter, and try to be very impactful. And I tell guys all the time, I'm never a yes man. I put on a lot of hats. I'm a mentor one day. I'm an agent. I'm a confidant. I'm a big brother. But a lot of these guys don't have that. So I really think from back then to now, this business has got a lot more commercial. Everybody's in it for the glitz and glamour, the money and all that, which we all want to make money, but I don't think like the real substance of really caring for these guys are really there.
Yeah. So that piece you say has gotten lost. So you mentioned that there's a lot of guys out there who just want to get certified. What are the processes of becoming a sports agent? If a person like came up to you and said, "Hey, I'm interested in becoming a sports agent," what are the steps they would have to take to become one?
Well, first,
An NFL sports agent, by the
yeah,
way.
NFL, yeah. And so, great question. I mean, at first, you got to have a 4-year degree from a accredited institution. And then from there, you got to go get a post-secondary education, whether it's a master's degree, MBA, or a law degree. You got to have one of those as well. You can't just stop at, having a college degree unless you got significant experience in negotiating. Now,
Wow.
sometimes the NFLPA will waive that
Uh huh.
post-secondary education if you got extensive experience in negotiating. And then you submit your application, and I don't quote me on this. I want to say the application was around $2,500 just to take the
Oh
test.
wow, they don't make it cheap.
Yeah, don't make it cheap, no refunds. And so you do examination. It's a 3-hour examination. It's like 60 questions. It's very intense. But and from there, you actually, of course, you got to pass the test, and then you got to go get another. I want to say about a $1,500 insurance policy you got to get as well. So you
Wow.
might be able to get $5,000 invested before you even think about even having a client.
Yeah.
Uh, and so it's those are kind of the requirements to actually be an agent. Then once you are an agent, then now to keep your certification and your license, you got to sign a player and do a contract within 3-year time frame
Okay.
to
Okay.
keep your license.
Wow. So that is, I mean, I don't know what the requirements are for other sports, but I know that sounds really, stringent. I know with the NBA,
Mm-hmm.
most recently there was discussions about making the agents in the NBA have a college degree.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, why is the NFL so why is it so much harder to become an NFL agent than it is to be an NBA agent? Like, what's different between the businesses that now, there's that it doesn't take as much to become an NBA agent?
And that's a great question because I have often asked myself that, and I haven't taken the NBA or MLB certification stuff, test the requirements, but I do know when you're dealing with those sports, you're dealing with guaranteed contracts, fully
Mm,
guaranteed contracts. So I
yeah.
don't know if the thought of the myth is like these contracts are already guaranteed. So how much negotiating is needed, I don't know. But in the NFL, the contracts are not guaranteed.
Right.
And so
Yep.
you have to negotiate that percentage of guaranteed money and clauses and bonuses, and it's a lot of stuff that goes into complex stuff that goes into these contracts. And so I think maybe that's why the requirement is a lot higher. I know when Eugene told me back in the days when he got started, it was a take home test, but that was the way back when they did a take home test and
A
they had to
take home test?
a take home test.
Wow.
But now it's you gotta first of all, get approved through your application, and
Okay.
you can very well not get approved. Then once you get approved, you got to take the seminar, and that's in DC. So you got to fly to DC, and then you in this room with could be a couple hundred people taking this seminar, and then before do the seminar first, then you actually take the actual test. So you might be up there, I think the first day is a seminar, and the second day is a test. So you're there for like 2 or 3 days. So like I said, it's very intense for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it makes sense that it should be because
Yeah.
like you said, you are basically you have in your hands the career of a young man,
Yeah.
who has the possibility to make millions or maybe multi-millions. And depending on your level of expertise and your
Mhm.
level of knowledge, that can again make him be a millionaire or a multimillionaire. So you would want someone with vast knowledge. What is the most difficult, challenging part about being a sports agent?
I think for me, I think it goes back what I was saying earlier, like the just the when I tell people all the time, no matter my success or what I have going on in this industry now, I got into this business years ago helping a friend out, and so I still see it the same as I want to help my young brothers out, who all of a sudden become a part of my family. I become a part of their family, and I just see so many guys get taken advantage of, misled, and misguided. And these guys put their bodies, and they have sacrificed so much, and put their bodies through so much to get taken advantage of that way. And so I think for me, that's the one thing that I really, really dislike about this industry and this business is that piece of it, of guys just continually getting abused and misused from an educational standpoint. And I tell guys, the NFL is a multi billion dollar industry. You got to put your CEO hat on when you first walk into the locker room and have your brand already figured out and your team figured out strongly when you go in that locker room, and don't just think as I'm a football player, I'm an employee, because the NFL stands for not for long. And
Right.
so if you don't have your business affairs and priorities right and set right, it could very well be one of those situations where we see you later and you don't have your affairs in order. You can end up in that 80%.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm always big on preaching about empowerment and educating these young men. And I just feel like a lot of these guys are not getting that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so do you find that the guys that you have, do you find like, do they get it? Do they get what they need to do in order to, sustain their career or sustain what they've earned after playing football?
Yeah, I would certainly say that because I think I do a great job of even screening guys when I go recruiting them, and so I tell families and players all the time that same way you interviewing me, I'm interviewing you as well.
Right.
And it goes back to this old saying growing up, all money ain't good money. And so
Mm,
I don't want to sign every player. I'm not a fit for every player. Some guys want to be lied to. Some guys want to be misled. Some guys want to hear that they the best when they're not necessarily the best. I mean,
yeah.
so some guys want that yes man. And I would never compromise who Tory Dandy is for the sake of a client or this business. And so my guys that I do have, the clients that I do have, and the families that I do have, we've been through that educational front of getting recruited and not getting, just told anything that they want to hear. And we can continue to educate on a regular basis. So I would certainly say I've been very selective and very blessed to have the young men and families that I have that allow me to represent them. And they really want to do it the right way.
Yeah, no, that's right. I like that. Like you said, not only are they interviewing you, you're interviewing them. And it is about a fit. Anytime you have any type of relationship, whether it's a personal, romantic,
Mm-hmm.
a professional, it's about a relationship and it
Yeah.
has to be the right fit. So I like that. So what's the most rewarding part of being a sports agent?
Of course, I mean, it's we all want to make money. So I mean, that's the money part is great, but I really like the aspect of signing a young man in December, January, and no matter what his background is, or whether he come from a two-parent home or one-parent home, or aunt raised him or uncle raised him, they all come from different backgrounds, right? When you sign a young man in January and be with him through that whole draft process all the way to April, and then hear his name called, whether it's in the first round or seventh round, they living out their dream. And I was a part of that. I'm a part of that. So for me, that's very special, especially when you look at it like, yeah, your aspiration was to play in the league or whatever, Tory, but you still could be a part of a lot of young men lives,
Yeah.
stories, and you will forever be included in that. And they will never forget those moments with them, walking them and guiding them through that process and making history and hopefully changing their family, financially life set forever. And so for me, that's most rewarding is seeing those guys go through that process and living out their dream.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, to be a part of that for them, that I can see how that can be the most rewarding. So, talk to us about your promotion last
Yeah,
month. Now, that's huge. That's
yeah,
big.
yeah,
I saw it all on the internet. I mean,
yeah.
we I even saw an article where it said no, Spartanburg
Yeah.
gives the key to the city to Tory Dandy.
The
So,
key,
I mean,
the key right there. Yeah.
oh, let me see the key. Look at the key, y'all.
One of the keys in here.
Uh-oh,
This
look
is
at that.
Spartanburg. Then I got the key from Woodruff up there as well.
Oh my goodness. I
Yeah.
like it. I like
But
it.
no,
How
it's
does
good.
it feel?
Oh man, I was actually talking to my cousin today, and not only get a key from your hometown, which is I don't know anybody from Woodruff ever got a key, and then to get one from Spartanburg, and then also on top of that, August 29th will always be Tory Dandy Day in Spartanburg County. I
You
know,
got a
so
day?
Yeah, I got a day. I got a
You
proclamation.
got a day?
I got a day. And so to get that and being from that area, you just don't hear that kind of stuff. And
Yeah,
so
you're right.
it is very humbling, and it was very shocking, surprising. But I know what comes with that is the level of expectation and how I got to continue to, grind and give back and use this platform to motivate and encourage and do great things and all that, which I'm all about. And so it was very surprising because at first it was just more so about getting together with family and friends, and really just eating, drinking, have a good time, and just celebrate the promotion. And then I get there, and they get started, giving out these proclamations and the keys and all that. So I'm still kind of like wow. But the aspect of the CA piece of it, as far as managing partner and co-head, I'll be lying to you if I sit here and said, yeah, when I joined CAA in 2016, that was one of my goals to be co-head of CAA football.
Okay.
So I worked for 4 years. I came with the mindset of saying, you know what, I'm the first African American, first Black at CAA football and executive. So let me go over here for the next 4 years and kill it. And I had a 4-year contract, and so that's what I did for 4 years. I put my head down and grind and grind and grind. And I knew in talking to the CEOs that the opportunity was going to present itself at some point, and it did. Now the managing partner side of it, that never was. I didn't even know, that was even attainable in the sense of in our industry to be, not only just be a co-head, but also be managing partner of the number one agency in the world that's valued at 10 point something $billion. And so to be managing partner and be the first African American, I mean, it's hard to kind of put into words, but I do know, once again, what comes with that is expectation. And I have expectations of myself, high expectations. I try to have that mindset. And it might sound crazy, that, I look at it like, yeah, it's a big opportunity. It's a lot of money and all that. But I got the mindset of now, like, I got to go prove myself again, like I was an intern. And I think that what drives me, and I'm wired different like that. I like that. I like that competitive competition kind of thing. And so, yes, it's definitely historic, and it's going to be something that when I'm gone out of here and I'm no longer here with you all, and that my daughter could continue the legacy of Tory Dandy Day in Spartanburg County, and her kids one day. And I mean, so it's very, very, very humbling, but I'm very appreciative and very blessed.
Yeah, and well deserving. And well
Thank you.
deserving.
I
Uh,
appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, for a person who wants to become a sports agent, I asked you before how and you spoke about how to become one.
Mhm.
But what would be the one piece of advice, the one piece of advice that you would give a person who wants to become a sports agent?
I would certainly say it's all about relationships. I've always been great at establishing relationships and being genuine in the relationships. And when you're dealing with these families, these young men, and all of a sudden now you're trying to recruit them, or their families all of a sudden now, like, this is my baby, like, he can make millions or whatever. So that everybody's protected. And
Yeah.
so I think, like, if you come, you're not genuine, these families, I mean, they got enough sense about themselves to leave, try to figure out if you really sincere or not. And so I always
Mm-hmm.
tell people all the time, yeah, just be yourself. I tell families all the time that I'm still just a good old country boy from Woodruff, South Carolina, born and raised, and so my level of success, the platform hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't try to speak and sound like somebody else. I am who I am, and like I said, I might not be a fit for this young man or whatever, or this family, but I still know who I am, and I can live with that. And so I think the biggest piece of advice is, be prepared. Have yourself prepared. I was prepared when Eugene Parker gave me opportunity. A
Yeah.
lot of people say they dream or they want to do this and that, but have you made preparation when that opportunity comes? And so
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough that I did that. And so 17, 18 years later, this is where I'm at. So I think the preparation piece of it, but also just establishing great relationships and really seeing where that can take you to.
Yeah. And you speak about Eugene, and like you said, he passed away in
Mhm.
2016. How did that impact you?
It was crazy because in 2015, November 2015, my contract had expired. Eugene had always owned his own company called Maximum Sports, and he sold his company to a company called Relativity Sports in 2013. I did a 2 year deal with him. Eugene did a 4 year deal with them to figure out was it going to make sense or not. And my thing was, if it does make sense, I'm only in for 2 years, and I go back to the table, get a bigger deal. If it doesn't, at least I'm not locked in long term. And so going into the fall of 2015, Eugene had told me, he's like, Tory, I'm trying to get my company back. If I do, I want to give you some ownership in the company.
Hmm.
And my contract expired in November, but a few weeks later, Eugene got diagnosed with kidney cancer. And so they kind of had a whole negotiations up. And when that did, I really seen like, I had to be there for him. And so I really went, people don't know this, people who are close to me know this, from November, when my contract expired, all the way till I signed with CAA July the 1st, I went without a paycheck because I didn't have a contract. But I
Okay.
was there for Eugene to make sure that I'm still make sure the clients are good, my clients are good, his clients are good, and all that.
Yeah.
And then he passed in March 2016, and then I came on board CA July 1st. But I reflect, and I got Eugene right over there. I see him every day, and he really was the one person that really in this business impacted and changed my life forever. And there's no way I would be even close to where I'm at, and know the understanding, the knowledge in which I have, if it wasn't for Eugene Parker, because he was not only the greatest agent I feel to ever negotiate contracts. I mean, he was a family man. I mean, he
Yeah.
married his high school sweetheart, didn't move from his hometown or Fort Wayne, Indiana. He with all the success, he still stayed, and I mean, raised his kids, and he didn't drink, he didn't smoke, he didn't curse. I mean, so I really learned from really not a great agent, but a great man. So Eugene Parker will forever live within me.
That's a beautiful story.
Okay.
Um, so tell us a little bit about the Tory Dandy Foundation.
Yeah, so the Tory Dandy Foundation, I started about 7, 8 years ago. Eric Thomas, who's a well-known motivational speaker, is a
Mhm.
good friend of mine. Et, and Tony Gaston is a great friend of mine as well. And back then, I was just still grinding, trying to figure everything out. And I always been doing a little give backs and donations here and there. And I never forget, I was talking to both of those guys, and they were saying like, Tori, I know you give back, you do stuff, man. You got to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
And I don't have a son. I just have my daughter, and they was like, I don't necessarily know I'm trying to have another kid, but they was like, no, man, you start your own foundation, man. Like,
Yeah.
just, I know you're not doing this to like to shine, but just start your own foundation. And so I looked into it, and I got the right people to set up my foundation, make sure it's 501(c)(3) and regulated and all that kind of stuff. And then what I first wanted to do was impact where I come from in Woodruff. And so
Hmm.
that's when I started the scholarship back then. And I think in the last 7 years, 7, 8 years, we have awarded 12 high school senior scholarships. I do stuff here in Charlotte where I live now. I have been asked numerous and numerous of times to go speak at high school, middle schools, youth
Hmm.
prisons, in which I have when my schedule allows. I just feel like, for somebody who really know my story, my journey, and having my daughter when I was in 10th grade, um, not having my father in my life till I was 28 years old. I finally met my father when I was 30 years old. Being the first one in my family to go to college and finish, to the point where when I got ready to go to graduate school to get my MBA, my mom said, Tori, what are you about to do next? I said, go to graduate school. She said, what is graduate school? So, and then get into this business as an intern. Now, 17, 18 years later, been head of the number one agency in the world. I just feel like it's a lot to share
Yeah.
because you never know who's in that funk or who's in that situation where they just think they can't make it out.
Yeah.
And coming from Woodruff, I didn't see a lot of people make it out. But I think it was just something building me different, saying that I wanted to do something different. And so I always been inquisitive. I always try to look like, necessarily not necessarily have mentors around me, but when I see people that was doing great, I ask them questions. I
Hmm.
never was afraid to do that kind of stuff and try to pattern myself off of, some people, whatever the case might be. And so I just want to use this foundation to give back as much as I can and share a word as much as I can and try to hope to, encourage some people, whether it's young or old, and from a resource standpoint, be able to provide to the communities which I can, and so that's what the whole foundation is about.
I love it. I love it. And so, how can people find out more about the Tory Dandy Foundation if they want to help either give or help with any of your initiatives?
So the Tory Dandy Foundation does have a website. It's www.thetorydandyfoundation.org. They can find it there. And also on social media, I'm on social media. My personal page is T Dandy One, and then on Facebook, I'm Tory Dandy. And so I'm always posting stuff or just showing what I have going on. But that's where people can find what I got going on about my foundation.
Okay, great. So we are in this unprecedented time right now with
Mhm.
COVID. And you know, the NBA came back in July, and I guess the NFL was trying to figure out what they were going to do, but the
Mhm.
NFL is back.
Mhm.
So, you know, how were you able to help your clients out with, you know, I know maybe some, I'm not sure. I think there were a few players that opted out of playing because of the concerns with COVID. You know, how did you help counsel or, you know, consult or mentor any of your guys dealing with the pandemic? And, you know, how do you think that the NFL has handled it so far?
The first part I would certainly say, as far as how I was able to guide or mentor or be there for my guys and their families. I mean, it was uncertainties for everybody. And so everybody was kind of panicking, trying to figure out what's going on. It's going to be a season or not. And it started back in March. And that's when guys, typically start reporting about April to go to OTAs and off-season workouts. And so that's what's put on hold. And we're trying to get information from the NFL and from the NFLPA, and they really didn't have a lot of information to give. So it was just one of those things where you just had to tell guys, like, man, hey, just spend much time with your family as possible because we don't get a chance. We always traveling. We're always busy. So don't look at necessarily the negative of all this. Look at the positive. Like, just give you a chance to really spend time with your family.
Yeah.
We only can control what we can control, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's new to everybody. And so I think from that piece of it, then as we start transitioning, as we got probably about in the middle part of it, even with the draft guys, I mean, you had draft guys that, I signed from college and they had to go through the draft experience, no workouts and virtual draft. And,
Yeah.
it was just one of those things where we all was learning and experiencing together. And I think as a leader, you got to remain resolute. You got to remain confident, even
Mm-hmm.
when, you got, questions yourself, but you can't allow them to see that piece of it because they
Yeah.
leaning on you. They entrusting in you. And I think a great thing that we have at CA is that, and we got a coaching division where we represent some GMs and head coaches in the NFL and executives and all that. So I'm able to get information that some others may not be able to get to provide for my guys.
Sure.
And I think my guys just entrusted that, hey, when the word comes, or when Tory say something or CA say something, that we know we can pretty much take it to the bank. And I think that certainly helps with the guys as well. For the NFL, I think, as of right now, I think they have done a great job. I think all the guys are policing themselves in the locker room because they all want to play the game. They love to play the
Mm-hmm.
game of football. I also think they know that also if they don't play football, they don't get paid. And so I think I think the NFL and NFLPA set a certain guidelines and rules and regulations for the players that they can't be in certain situations or they're gonna get fined or guaranteed money gonna get lost and all that. So I think right now it seems to be going well. I mean, I think some places, some stadiums per state is going to start opening up some, allow some fans.
Yeah.
Um, it's a little different, looking at it on TV for sure with no fans. They try to do some sound effects that, certainly helps. But talking to the players the first 2 weeks, especially the first week, was totally different. A lot of
Yeah.
those guys didn't like it because it was like, Tory, we get our energy off the fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you look up and there's no fans. It's like practice. You got a big scrimmage going on. So I think over time, as they allow more fans to start trickling in. But I think for right now, I think the NFL and the NFLPA has done a tremendous job getting us to this point.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm definitely happy to see football back. I'm happy to
No
have
question.
sports back, period.
No question.
So, you know, as a fan, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you are on the run or in the air, so to speak, all the time, traveling from game to game or visiting with your clients. You're on the go a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do to, you know, self-care, unwind,
Mm-hmm.
rest, to take care of yourself? Because even though self-care is, people like to make it a feminine term,
Mm-hmm.
it's a human term, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that, you know, men should always prioritize themselves when possible and take care of themselves. So what are some of the things that you do?
I would certainly say I try to get a massage at least twice a month. for sure, to get that kind of alone time, just kind of like let some air out and just breathe and relax. It's tough because my phone is always calling, and it's, you got clients calling, you got families calling, and they ain't count my personal life with family and all that. So I certainly, try to get massages for sure. I work out probably at least 4 days out the week, maybe sometimes 5. So I work out. So I try to stay, fit mentally and spiritually and physically. I read the word. I mean, I believe in certainly reading. And so I think some of those things, and also with me being in Charlotte, especially during this pandemic, with me being in Charlotte, I'm only like an hour from Spartanburg, hour and a half from my hometown of Woodruff. So it allowed me to spend a lot more time with my family because I'm a big family person, family guy. And so that's where I could really find like home away from home, and like being at home and being around my family and being around friends that I know genuinely care about me outside of this whole NFL agent stuff and all that. It allows me to just be me and just relax and unwind. So I would certainly say getting massages and working out and reading, but also being around my family.
Yeah, yeah, family is important. I know that that's
Mhm.
very important to you. And so tell us one more time for my listeners and viewers where they can find out more information about your foundation, and just to follow you.
Follow me on Instagram. It's T Dandy one, the number one. That's on Instagram and Twitter. And then on Facebook is Tory Dandy. And then my foundation page is www.torydandyfoundation.org. That's where the platforms and means of being able to follow me and see what I have going on, but also my foundation. And that's me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, quick question: who's winning the Super Bowl this year?
Mm, that's a trick question.
It is a trick question.
Yeah, I would have to say right now, just looking at it, I certainly like Kansas City chances and the
Okay,
Ravens chances. I think,
Ravens.
yeah, I think both of those. I think they should play in the AFC Championship game, and I think the winner of that game probably be in the Super Bowl.
Will be in the
Will
Super
win the
Bowl,
Super Bowl. I
and
think.
will win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Nice, nice. Well, look, I appreciate this. I look to have
yeah.
you back on when do bigger and better things than what you're already doing. But it is a pleasure to talk to you, to catch up with you, to share your story. So proud of you. So
Thank
very,
you.
very proud of you. Well
Yeah.
deserving. And yeah, keep, taking care of our men out there in the
Mhm.
NFL. Keep encouraging them, keep mentoring them, and leading them in the right way. They definitely need someone like you in their corner.
Mhm.
And so thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and you continue to do your thing, and I'm proud of you as well.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
All right.
All right.